Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and I am driving to an appointment, so I'm having a little bit of like me and you time right now. But one of the things that I have noticed in the last few days that I keep getting this same message over and over and over again. I have read it in the book that I'm reading. I have seen it on online videos. I have seen it in post with other people, and I just think it's really interesting is to kind of love ourselves. And I think this is a very interesting message because so many times we kind of put ourselves last on the list. Are you always last on the list? Are you always the one that's kind of like, oh, I'll take care of myself later on, or I'll deal with that, like, and kind of later never comes, your turn never shows up? I will tell you then what you really are. You're a clairsensitive. Clairsensitives put ourselves last on the list so many times that it's ridiculous. And we kind of just keep thinking that someone's going to eventually figure it out that we're last on the list, and kind of like, okay, they're going to put us at the head table. They're going to put us up in front. They're going to do something to kind of make us more important for a little bit. They're going to realize what we've done for them, and they're going to say thank you, or I appreciate you, or something else. The thing is that really very rarely happens. Most of the time we keep giving and we are not getting back anything in return, and that's kind of the sad, horrible part, is that we are not really demanding or commanding what we really should be having in our lives. And it's one of those, I know for myself, being a clairsensitive, that a lot of that comes in from not only in our teaching as a child and young adult and the family we grew up in, but also kind of comes from society. Almost this overwhelming feeling like we need to be putting ourselves last. Many years ago, we moved into a new subdivision for us, and I thought it was really interesting. So I was wanting to get to know some of the other moms that had kids close to my kids' age, and so I was waiting at where the kids went to school, and was talking to one of the other moms, and I was like, oh, well, why don't we go get a donut and a cup of coffee? I don't drink coffee, but okay. But she was just like, looked at me and she goes, well, I need to go home and clean my house. And I'm just like, well, I wasn't talking about for like all morning. I was like, let's go meet for 30 or 45 minutes or something like that and chat and get to know each other. And I asked her several other times. She said no, of course, that time, but I asked her several other times, and eventually she had me over to her house to have a cup of coffee. And it was just really interesting, like, in her thinking, I mean, her house was exquisite and just clean as all get out. And when I was leaving about 30 minutes later, I was like, oh, your house is so beautiful and it's so clean. And then she goes, oh, well, that's what I do all morning, is I clean the house. Every day she cleans the house. I was like thinking in my head, like, that just has to be a little bit off. You know what I'm saying? Like, something's not quite 100% right with this. Like, I understand houses have to be clean, and got to clean out the filth, and wash the dishes and all of those kind of things. I totally get that part. I totally get it. The thing is, though, is it shouldn't come as a priority over you. Every time I talked to her at the stop or whatever else, like, she was telling me, like, oh, I can't wait for us to get together, and I can't wait for us to get to know each other and that sort of thing. And I was like, so she's telling me this, but her actions don't show that. And I got to know her a little bit better, and I just found out that, like, this is the way she is all the time. Like, she feels like if her house is not 100% clean all the time, she's doing something wrong. And I just think, wow, like, it'd be great to be her husband because her house would always be clean. Don't have to worry about any of that stuff. The crazy part comes in as that you are always working, and you're never taking time for yourself. You're never taking a break. It's always, your family's always the number one priority instead of you. And I just think, wow, that's it's kind of crazy weird, crazy sad, because we are a priority. We should be a priority. One of the things that's really important that I think that people overlook is, and I read this in a book probably 18 or 19 years ago, and it just kind of hit me over the head like a lead brick of, okay, the way someone puts themselves always last on their list, puts the spouse in front of them, the boyfriend in front of them, the kids in front of them, all that kind of stuff, and they're always last. What you're really teaching your kids is they may be last as well. Maybe, saying, like, I'm a wife, so it's one of those, I'm teaching my daughter that someday when she gets married, that she should be last. Don't like that at all. Or that when my son gets married, his wife should be last on the list. And I was like, that's really not what I want to do ever. I would never want my kids to be last on the list all the time. And so I started to change that for myself. And so I guess that's kind of my question back to you. Are you putting yourself last on the list? Are you putting yourself last on the list every time, and everybody else around you gets to be first, or they get to be a priority, where you're putting yourself last on the list and not doing things for you, having friend lunches, going and doing things, or getting out and about, or whatever it is, go buy a new shirt or something. It's like, are you taking care of you? Because if you're the one who's last on the list, I will guarantee you're a clairsensitive. Clairsensitives are kind of just genetically made this way of putting themselves absolutely last on the list. They are always that last person to work on something. They're the last person to get something done because they've gone around and helped everybody else. And then it's like, oh, wait, now, I've helped everybody else. And sometimes they don't even get help themselves. I know that because I'm a clairsensitive. But it's one of those, like, they're not asking or demanding other people, like, hey, I helped you, why don't you help me? They're like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. I'll do it. I'll take care of it, or whatever else. And I was like, that is, to me, kind of sad, because we're teaching not only ourselves and our energy over and over again that we should be last on the list. We're teaching our kids that. We're teaching our spouse and our family that we should be last on the list. And that's so not the way it was meant to be. Clairsensitives are very important. They have an amazing energy, and they have this almost like assistant type energy with them. And they're always wanting to assist and help and put someone else first. But sometimes that clairsensitive, to really find the balance in that, really has to put themselves first. They have to put themselves first so they feel better about what's going on, so they can feel like they've accomplished something, or they've done something, or meant something to somebody. But so many times clairsensitives put themselves so far down on the list that they never really get that priority. They never really get that energy of, I'm number one, or I'm important. And I know clairsensitives, a lot of this clairsensitives I know are also moms, which actually makes it even worse, because then it's one of those, like, the house is the priority, or the kids are the priority, or the spouse is the priority, but not necessarily them. And so my message to you today is, if you are clairsensitive, take some time for yourself. Take some time to retreat and do something just for yourself. If that's to go and have a friend lunch with somebody else, maybe it's to spend some time alone, or to meditate, or take a walk. Any of those things, make sure that you're taking time today to support your energy and support you in what's coming up in and around you. So many times it doesn't happen, but make sure that you please make it a priority, and make yourself a priority. Make some time for yourself on your calendar. So make some time for yourself in your family events, so that you feel refreshed and ready to go again. I think that's one of the best messages I could ever give anybody. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.